gentlemen, and welcome to basic training for Hideous Destructor. I know most of you are used to a more comfortable and forgiving form of combat, but that's not why you're here. You're here because you want a challenge. You want the satisfaction of beating terrible and insurmountable odds, and you want to die. This mod gives everything a more concrete position and feeling in the world. Your Marine is now affected by fatigue. You can't just run around with several hundred pounds of gear at a full tilt. It doesn't work that way. Weapons now do far more damage, both in your hands and in theirs. Physical damage and wounds now pose a serious threat to your combat effectiveness, eventually leading to exhaustion, shock, and the total failure of your body's ability to keep your dumbass breathing. We'll be covering all of these things in the upcoming sections. Your standard movement speed is a combat jog, which can get you anywhere you need to be, eventually. If you find yourself in a situation where a combat jog is not getting the job done, then either you've been ambushed or you've made a very bad judgment call somewhere down the line. Sprinting requires you to sacrifice combat readiness for raw speed. When you sprint, you will have to lower your weapon. Just remember that the weapons now have a physical weight to them. Having a heavy weapon equipped will require a few more precious moments to lower it and begin your run. You will run a shorter distance and slower when you do it. Plan your escapes accordingly. Jumping is now replaced by two separate mechanics, leaping and mantling. Mantling involves approaching a waist or neck-high wall and moving towards the wall while holding your jump key. Your Marine will hoist himself up and onto the ledge. Simple enough. Leaping involves moving towards a ledge from the higher ground and hitting the jump key. You will jump forward, off the ledge, and the faster you're moving will determine how far you go. Not terribly complicated, but it will take some getting used to. Interacting with items and pickups now requires you to hit your use button, meaning that you can dictate when you pick up and use resources. Many items, like medical kits, stim packs, and other non-standard equipment can now be carried along with you in your inventory, allowing you to perform first aid on yourself whenever you become injured. If you stand still and hold your use key, you can view your inventory, which includes your armor state, reserve ammunition, remaining grenades, and other information. How many of you like the blood inside of your body right now? Well, don't get too attached to it, because it probably won't be there for long. As such, we will be demonstrating the basics of first aid and how to assess your current state of injury. If you become injured, there is a good chance that you will notice. Your vision will flash either black or red, depending on several factors. If your screen flashes red, it means that you are in pain, and only serves to give you an assessment of your current condition without having to stop and check. You will simply know if you're hurt. If your screen flashes black, then you need to try and administer first aid to yourself. A flashing black screen means that something important on or in your body needs to be bandaged, patched, plugged, cut off, or otherwise fixed. Get to it. Minor scratches and grazing hits can actually resolve themselves, not needing medical attention, but don't bet on it. As your pain grows worse, your combat effectiveness drops exponentially. You will struggle to hold a steady aim, load your weapons efficiently, walk in a straight line, or even stand upright. But you're a Marine. You'll pull through. Most Marines in the field will end up having to self-medicate, as the medics are usually tied up elsewhere or dead. There are two kinds of first aid you will have access to normally: first aid kits and stim packs. Medical kits come with all standard medical supplies you should need to fix most injuries. The kits include gauze, splints, bandages, medical plasma, burn medicines, as well as smelling salts, and some drugs and supplies that vary from package to package. Bottom line, medical supplies for any kind of injury that you've managed to sustain. If you are bleeding, this is the first and only thing you should reach for. Just know that any kind of drugs or treatment that you self-administer will take time to kick in. Your health will slowly bleed back up. Sit still when waiting for the drugs to bleed in. Exerting yourself at all, much less fighting in combat, will slow down your healing process. So just sit the fuck down and ride it out. Stim packs usually come with a small MRE and minor medical supplies, as well as an auto-injector filled with adrenaline. Use these to give yourself a quick boost of health, getting you back up to speed from minor injuries or speeding a recovery from more extensive medical treatment. Severe Trauma Recovery and Combat Dominance Packs, commonly called Berserk Packs, were being developed to give medics a chance to save a critically wounded soldier and to allow for soldiers deployed into combat to put their bodies and minds in a place to overwhelm the enemy. There's a lot of truly frightening science behind this thing. Medics, point men, and trench fighters get real quiet when you ask about it. Nonetheless, the contents of this jet black medical kit include several of the same items from the stim pack, with more supplies included for stabilizing a dying Marine, and the big ugly needle that holds the combat serum. The serum gives dramatic short-term boosts to strength, resilience, and stamina. You will be able to run longer, harder, and faster, as well as running more efficiently and easily with heavier weapons. The serum also provides the benefit of rapid cellular regeneration, heightened aggression, and a powerfully increased tolerance for pain. Now that stuff won't stop a shotgun shell to the stomach, but if you can survive your injuries, it should help you stay upright and in the fight. Remember, med kits are the only item that can stop bleeding. Stims and Berserk kits will only give you health. When engaging an enemy, find cover, assume a stable firing stance, and fire in accurate single shots or controlled short bursts. Firing from a stationary position will drastically increase your accuracy. Marine, you better be taking notes. If you find a surface or ledge to rest your weapon on, it will make your weapon far more controllable when firing. Not too hard to wrap your head around, I hope. Make sure that when trying to hit a moving target to keep your sights on the enemy, but ever so slightly lead your sights ahead of them, depending on their movement speed. You will notice that your rounds take just a fraction of a second to make contact. Try to remember the proper form for engaging the enemy, but if you have to move around during combat, we all know that no plan survives contact with the enemy, especially the one we fight today. Take it to him, Marine. Now to the part that most of you are waiting for. Guns. In this section, we will be covering the basic weapons that you should encounter in your first few deployments. The ZM66 Standard Issue Assault Rifle is your go-to weapon as an infantryman. Firing the 4.26mm caseless UAC standard round, the ZM66 provides respectable firepower and a compact, accurate, and controllable platform. The 50-round magazine means that you should rarely find yourself in a position of running out of ammunition during a firefight. The 66 comes standard with a low-powered magnified gun sight and can be fitted with an underbarrel rocket launcher. The Hunter pump-action shotgun is a fantastic weapon. Firing the tested, tried, and true 12-gauge shotgun shell, the Hunter is capable of utter devastation in close quarters, and is able to deliver consistent and focused damage out to a respectable distance. Don't let your mental image about shotguns prevent you from reaching out and trying to touch someone with it. Primary fire does exactly what you would expect. It shoots your gun. Secondary fire works the pump on your shotgun and nothing else. You will have to manually work the pump of your shotgun after each shot. This means that you can eject an unused round if you are not measuring yourself. If you are having a hard time figuring out how to pump your shotgun after each shot, maybe joining the Marine Corps was a mistake on your part. The ammunition counter at the bottom of the screen for the shotguns doesn't represent the ammo you have in total. It represents the number of shells on the side saddle of your currently equipped shotgun. This ammo is drawn quickly when you hit your primary reload, giving you access to ammo for a quick tactical reload without having to grab shells from the pouches on your gear or your bandolier. Both shotguns have separate saddle reserves, which can work in your favor if you have to change shotguns in the middle of a firefight. Partial side saddles will replenish themselves over time, and this process can be sped up by standing still. The Moletta 99FX is the standard sidearm of several militaries and law enforcement agencies around the world. Firing the 9mm Magnum round, the 99FX combines high capacity and solid stopping power into an easily controllable package. Reloads are quick enough, but many Marines have taken to picking up a second handgun, quickly drawing it out when their first pistol runs out instead of trying to reload under fire. Being a compact, one-handed weapon, this sidearm will not pose an issue when maneuvering and operating in close quarters. Use this to your advantage. Get in the trench with the bastards, and take it to them. Who doesn't love grenades? The M67A1 frag grenade is an update to the old model, still finding service with the U.S. Armed Forces as well as armed forces around the world. Grenades are relatively straightforward, but the mechanics to use them can be pretty tricky here. Primary fire simply throws the grenade, and holding down the key will increase the strength of your throw. Holding secondary fire will pull out the pin. In this mode, the grenade is still safe until you press secondary fire a second time, which drops the spoon and starts the fuse. Standard fuse is around 5 seconds, so cook your grenades with that in mind. Grenades are finicky and tricky as all hell, but you'll have to use them yourself and get familiar with them. They can bounce and roll and do all sorts of other things that can either save you or kill you. And don't worry if you kill yourself. You won't be the first. That should be enough to get you out into the field, Marine. Consult your included field manual for further information. If you find yourself wanting to understand the mechanics and get familiar with combat, deploy with the homely difficulty selected. There are more difficult spawns, but there is no bleed out to worry about, or bleeding at all for that matter. Make me proud, gentlemen. Dismissed.